The criticisms launched by Michelle Bachelet were the latest in a growing tide against the government of President Nicolas Maduro. That peaceful protests are being repressed, that indigenous and human rights activists and journalists are being persecuted, and that the Supreme Court is obstructing opposition politicians. The list is a long one.
I am concerned about the high number of deaths of young people in disadvantaged neighborhoods as a result of security operations. Based on an open-source analysis, my office recorded 711 deaths from June to August, reaching over 2,000 deaths since January 2020.
Her report also says returning migrants are being blamed for spreading the COVID-19 virus. But she's also calling for sanctions against Venezuela to be eased so it can better fight the pandemic, and praises the authorities for progress in some areas.
I acknowledged positive steps taken recently by the government of Venezuela, such as the pardon of 110 people and the release of 40, and an increased cooperation with my office.
But Bachelet's speech only adds to a critical UN report on Venezuela published earlier this week, which accuses the security forces of torture and sexual assault. President Maduro denies the accusations.
The document is a mess. From a technical, scientific point of view, in the light of universal human rights, it is a mess, and it is unsustainable. It's full of manipulations, of lies.
Maduro added that all human rights abuses in Venezuela are investigated and the perpetrators prosecuted. And in his speech to the UN General Assembly on Wednesday, he blamed Washington for instability in the region.
It's necessary for peace-defending nations to make the United States understand that in the midst of a global pandemic, no one understands or can explain why there's a resurgence in criminal blockades against noble countries.
Venezuela is already battling a dire economic and social crisis. More than 5 million of its 29 million strong population have fled the country. The coronavirus crisis has only made matters worse. And now the external political pressure directed at Venezuela since before Maduro took office 7 years ago only seems to be intensifying. Daniel Schweimler, Al Jazeera.